Today is July the 21st, 2024. We are here with Brother Edwin Colby, longtime member of the church in the Kearny area. And Bishop Colby, would you tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, that type of thing?
Okay, I was born in northern Utah, near Promontory Point. That's where the railroads joined. My dad was a cowboy for the Browning Cattle Company. He was making 50 cents a day when I was born. When I was 6 years old, we moved to a cattle ranch farther south, and that's where I lived from the time I was 5 until I was 18.
When you say farther south, about where was it?
Richfield,
Okay.
south central Utah. And a funny little story, one morning we were in the winter time, we were going across the pasture to do the chores, and there was a little stream that ran through there. It was probably 10 below zero. The snow was about 1.5 feet deep. We had a little trail and a 2x12 that we walked on across the creek. And I was out in front, my brother and dad were behind me. And I thought, I think I'll just fall in the creek because I knew it was too cold. My dad had sent me home. So, to make a long story short, he pulled me out, said, go home, change your clothes, do your schoolwork. And the next morning when we were going across there, he said, son, if I was you, I wouldn't fall in this morning. So I didn't, but I was always looking for a way to get out of helping with the chores. Then I went to school there. Started first grade when I was 5, and my mom was pregnant, so she couldn't go to school with me. There was a 6th grade girl there, and I was kind of boobing by the school, and she come and got me and told me, little boy, come with me, I'll show you where to go. So she took me in and introduced me to the teacher, and when I got home from school, my aunt was there and she told me, go play. Your mother's having a baby. So she had my little brother on my 6th birthday, September the 11th, when I was 6 years old. I'd have rather had a cup of pudding. Anyway, so after that, I worked there on the farm. One other story I'd like to tell is one day we were doing a job and I told my dad, why didn't you say anything to the boss, because we'll have to do this over tomorrow. And he said, son, you need to learn something. There's 3 ways to do a job: the right way, the wrong way, and the boss's way. The boss pays the bills. So if you can learn to do what you're told, you'll be a lot better off. I graduated from high school in 1954 in May, and married a girl named Janet in September the 9th in 1954. And I worked on the farm, and then I got a job making sheetrock. I was earning about $14 a day. Then they went on strike, and I went to Nevada, Ely, and went to work for Kennecott Copper. The price of copper then was 56 cents a pound. The Korean War ended, and the price of copper dropped to 26 cents, and they laid a lot of us off. And I ended up back in Utah, working on the farm. Then the company, Kennecott, transferred me to Ray, Arizona, to go to work in the smelter at Hayden. So we moved down there and lived in Dudleyville. I had 2 children at the time, Tom and Laura. When we got to Dudleyville, we lived in Mammoth for a few months and then moved to Dudleyville. They were finishing the little church in Hayden, and I would go in there on my days off and help work on the church. Leroy Wright was the branch president at the time. One day we were painting the outside of the building, and a boy, Terry Phelan and Charles Antone, they were big boys, and I wasn't as big as either one of them. One of them held me and the other one painted me with a paint roller, the front and back, the same color as the church, bluish green.
Were they members of the church, or were they just...
Yes, they were members of the church. They were good kids. They were just having fun. And so we finished that building, went to church there for several years.
I want to stop you for a second.
Okay.
Because before we started the tape, you were telling me a little bit about how you met your wife, Janet. And,
Okay.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you met her and where you got married and that type of thing?
Yeah, so Janet moved to Sigurd, a little town near Richfield, when she was 8 and I was 10. We went to school together. We rode the school bus to junior high and high school. One Sunday I took her to the movies. I hadn't ever kissed a girl. I was 17. And when I walked her up to the door, I asked her if I'd kiss her goodnight. She didn't say anything, but she let me kiss her. And the next morning she had saved me a spot on the school bus. She wanted my school ring, which she wore after that. She had to put a lot of tape on it so it fit her finger. And when she asked her mother, she said, "Edwin asked me last night if I wanted to get married." I told him yes. She was only 16. Her mother told her she was crazy, but she let her get married anyway. We got married in the Manti Temple on September the 9th, 1956. 1954, let me get that straight, 1954. We were married about 18 months when our first baby, a boy, we named Thomas, was born. In the meantime, the job I had in Utah, the men went on strike, so I went to Nevada, Ely, and went to work for Kennecott Copper. And I worked there for 2 years. Then the price of copper dropped from 56 cents to 26, and a bunch of us got laid off. And I transferred to Arizona, Hayden, where there was a brand new smelter.
So
went to work there.
So what were your thoughts and what were Janet's thoughts when you got to Arizona? Being from Utah, what did you think when you got to the Hayden area?
Okay, when I got there, I guess I slept in the car the first night. I didn't know anybody. And when I woke up the next morning, it was hot. And I was curious why nobody was outside. And I realized it was because of the weather. It was starting to be summertime. I don't remember exactly what month it was. And so when she came down later by herself, she thought she had come to the end of the world. because the roads from Superior to Kearny to where I lived in Dudleyville were not paved, they were still gravel roads. So it was interesting. The town of Kearny, they had just started pouring the foundations, and most people were living in trailers here and there. We lived in Mammoth for a little while, then we moved. I bought some property in Dudleyville and moved a mobile home there, and we had a half-acre of land, and so we put in a garden and did the things you do. And then I forgot to mention, while I was in Nevada, we had a little girl, Laura. She was born in 1958. So we had 2 children when we moved to Arizona. I had to be careful with my son because he liked to play outside, and he got dehydrated once. We had to put him in the Kearny Clinic, and they packed him in ice to get his temperature down. So after that, we made sure he drank lots of water.
What was it like having two young kids, being a small family, starting out in the I guess it would be the Hayden branch at that time?
Yeah, it was a branch, and it didn't take long to learn who the people were. I liked the people. It was easy to make friends. I took my son with me once to go home teaching before it was ministry to a lady named Eva Whitehead who lived in Hayden. And I had to do some work on her water lines and different things while we were visiting. She baked an apple pie, and so when we got through, she gave us a piece of pie and a scoop of ice cream. And my son Thomas said, "Dad, I know why you like to go teaching now. It's the pie and ice cream." And so as he got older, he realized it was the people. But I soon got to know everyone. There were probably only 60 members at the time. And so it wasn't long until I knew everyone. And I liked to visit people. After we built the building in Kearny, which was in 71, and we dedicated it in 72, my wife liked to bake, and she baked 50 loaves of bread, and we visited 50 families. I might mention I was in the High Council, and I thought it would be something that would make the other brethren feel good, but it kind of backfired on me. They didn't want to hear about visiting 50 families in a month. So we had a son, Jeffrey. He only lived 2 days. His lungs weren't developed. He passed away. He's buried in the Hayden Cemetery. Then a year and a half later, we had a girl, Karen. That's where I'm living now. But she was an easy child to raise. So we had 3 children. And in 72, when we dedicated the Kearny building, we were all active, and for New Year's, 2 or 3 years, I roasted a full-grown pig, and we had a party at the church, and a lot of people were there. Invited people from the state. and quite a few of them came over to Kearny to our New Year's party.
Let me ask you, before we started this interview and we were talking, it spoke about something that I think a sister told you maybe the first week that you showed up with your family
yes.
in the Hayden
Yeah.
branch about
Yes.
you and your kids. Do you want to share that story?
Sure. And so the first Sunday we went to church in Hayden with the kids. They were small. We didn't know anyone. And we ended up sitting on the front row. Sharon Karchner was playing the piano. She was just right there close to us. So after the sacrament meeting, a lady named Alice Antone said to me, "You must be the meanest man I've ever met." And I asked her why. She said, "Because your children sat there like little angels, never made any noise." And I told her, "We don't know anybody. Give them time to get acquainted." I thought it was kind of interesting that she felt that way about me because my children behaved. But my children have always been well behaved and easy to take care of. And so after I don't remember what year we were involved with Tucson, and we helped build the Tucson North Stake Center.
And so when you moved here and were in the Hayden branch attended the Tucson North Stake, correct?
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that, especially about building the Tucson North Stake Center.
Okay. President Peterson was the stake president in Tucson, and I remember to raise money, Gene Quinlan was quite a cook, and so we prepared dinners to serve at conference. It was going to be a piece of fried chicken and some coleslaw and a roll. And I remember helping Gene Quinlan cook chicken until the wee hours of the morning to get it ready. But I enjoyed working on the Tucson North building. I didn't do a lot, but I did work on it some. Helped do some painting and some other things.
Did you get painted this time?
No. Nobody painted me at the Tucson Stake Center. And
So
I knew a lot of the people down there. I've always been that type of person. I enjoy people. I like to meet strangers and say hello and introduce the gospel. So we finished the Tucson Stake Center. Then we started a project in Globe, building the Globe Stake Center.
Well, before you go to that, was the Kearny building built before the Globe Stake Center, or did it come after?
Yes, the Kearny Ward building, I'm sure was built before the Globe Stake Center.
Did you have any part in building the Kearny Ward building?
Yes, a lot.
Well, tell us about that.
Okay, the bishop put me in charge of building the building for the Kearny Ward. Some things that were interesting. We did a lot of donated labor. One day, we were getting ready to pour the sidewalk on the west side of the building. It was all formed and ready. I had ordered the concrete, but the man that I had asked to come and help me didn't show up. So I called some women, and about 8 ladies came up and helped me pour about 50 feet of sidewalk. Also,
How'd that turn out?
good. They did a great job.
Is that section of sidewalk still there at the
Yes,
building?
it is. It's from the northwest corner going south along the building down to the west entrance door. Yeah, I can still see the prints there. Another thing that happened, we were putting up a wall along the border on the west side of the parking lot, and Ivor Pickering, who was the general manager and did a lot in getting the building site and the things that need to be done in preparation to get the building going. He was there one day talking to me, and he had made a suggestion about a tool to use, and I made it a little different. It kind of aggravated him, and he wasn't paying attention, and there was brand new concrete on the north side going east, and he didn't notice it, and he walked right through the new concrete in his nice dress shoes, but he never did say anything. I was trying to think of a couple other things. We had some real nice dinners there. I roasted some full-size pigs. The company would let me put them in an electric furnace that they had and roast them.
So you roasted them at the smelter?
No, at the mine.
At the mine,
Where
okay.
they dried the electric motors.
Okay.
They had a big oven that they dried the electric motors out in when they were rewound. And I could put a 200-pound pig in that oven, and I would put it in there overnight, and it would be done in the morning.
How did it turn out?
Great. They ate it all. And I enjoyed all the activities at the church. I was in the bishopric from, I don't remember just when I was first in the bishopric. Brother Steve Joyman and Ned Bushnell and I. And I was over the primary, and one day the bishop said to me, the ladies are having trouble with 11-year-old boys. They're going to quit. And so I said, well, I'll just go teach the 11-year-old boys myself. So I started going to primary, and that took care of that problem. I got along great with the boys, and we had a good time. Sometimes I'd take them down to the river when it was dry, and we'd go scavenger hunting to see whatever we could find. Then, as time went by, we to the North Stake Center, where I helped work on that. I mentioned that already.
Well, that's, before we actually get to the stakes there, let me ask this. The stake was created, and then shortly after that, the
Globe Stake.
Yeah, the Globe Stake was created in 1974, and then after that, the Stake Center construction began. What did you think in 1974 when you heard that Kearny was going to be moved from the Tucson North Stake and you were going to go up to Globe all of a sudden? What was that like?
Well, I thought moving from Tucson to Globe was good because I didn't know as many people in Tucson. It wouldn't be long until I would know the people in Superior, Miami, Globe, San Carlos, and I already knew everybody in Kearny. So to me, I enjoyed the time I spent working on the Globe Stake Center. I remember going over one morning and there were about 20, 25 men just standing around, not doing anything. And I heard one of them say, well, we might as well go home. There's nobody here to tell us what to do. And I said, hey, we're grown men. We shouldn't have to be told what to do. We can see what needs to be done. Is there somebody that can run the loader and move some of that gravel over here? We were putting a sidewalk in. It would be on the northeast corner of the building. And we needed to do the sidewalk down along the building and over to the entryway on the northeast entrance of the Stake Center. Bruce Griffith said, I can run the loader. And he jumped on it and got a couple of scoops of gravel, and there was a skill saw there. I said, can somebody run this saw? We need to cut some 2x6s 6 feet long, and we need to run a string line here and put in some forms. I think the concrete's coming in a little while. And so it wasn't long till all the men were working. We had the forms in, we had it graded. It was ready for the concrete when the supervisor that was supposed to be there 2 hours earlier to direct what was going on, and he made the comment, well, who told you guys what to do? And they said, oh, Brother Colby. He just took charge and got things going. So it makes me feel good to know that I helped with that. I helped put the shingles on the roof, and that was about the time Kennecott started laying people off at Ray. It was, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but anyway, I got laid off again. It seems like I just, everywhere I went, the copper price would be good, and then it would drop, and then we'd get laid off. And I ended up leaving the Kearny, Dudleyville area for a few years. Went to New Mexico and worked. Ended up in Canada, Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, for 45 days, learning a new process. Came back to Silver City, New Mexico. Was active in the ward over there. And lived there. My wife she had ovarian cancer. She was, 85, about 77 years old. No, not 77, 57. 57 years old. And after the surgery, she lived 9 more years and died in 1996, February 15th. I wasn't going to get married, but things happened. I realized it'd be nice to have somebody riding in the car. And I went to see Doris Holcomb, who I had known. I was her home teacher when she was 20, but we were both married to somebody else. My wife died in February, and her husband died in March the same year. So I decided to go see her, and she invited me to come back. And so we dated until May 24th, we got married. And her and I lived in the Dudleyville area for 27 years. And then she got lung cancer and passed away December 29th, 2023. I might mention that in 2020, and 21, I had a bout with cancer and had radiation for 9 weeks, 5 days a week. Then in June 22nd of 2022, I was at the Globe Hospital and I blacked out. Luckily, I was at the hospital, so they got me going again. And here I am a few years later. My wife passed away, like I said, in 1996 in February, and Doris and I got married in May of 97, and she liked to bake. Doris liked to bake, and she liked to visit people if I went with her. She baked 50 loaves of bread one month, and we visited 50 families. On our normal visiting list, we only had about 14 people, which we visited every month, but we would also see non-members and friends, people that we knew. And I always enjoyed being involved with people. When Doris passed away in December of 2023, December 29th, I moved to Mesa, and I live with my daughter down here now, and we go to church, but I'm having a hard time learning who the people are, because there's 200 plus people every Sunday, and most of them don't know each other anyway.
You know, you mentioned ministering, and I recall not that long ago talking to your elders quorum president, and we were going through the different assignments that people had, and it seemed like you had about 100 people, about half the ward on your list. I said, how can he do that? And he does. He sees everybody. So what are your thoughts about ministering and experiences you've had ministering?
Yeah, I was retired. The thing that was nice when Doris and I got married, she was managing the little minute market in Dudleyville. I could tell you a little story about that that's kind of interesting. She said to me, don't ask me to quit. I've been working there 22 years, and I said to her, Doris, I've figured out how much you make, and I don't want you to quit. I think you could buy me a new pickup truck, and I'll be able to go fishing. I'll help you with the store, and I'll keep the yard up and the house and everything. And she came home from work that night, the same day, and she said, Edwin, I gave him my 2-week notice. I asked her why. She said, it sounds like you're going to have too much fun, and I want to be there. So we were both able to retire in 97. We did a lot of traveling. We bought a fifth wheel and a truck and ran all over the United States. Her favorite place was Yellowstone, so we'd go up there about every 3 or 4 years. But she was a good woman. She liked to bake. She liked to visit people. And me, I guess a couple of things that make me feel really good is Joe Becerra, who passed away not long ago, would tell everybody, it's because of Bishop Colby that I'm a member of the church and here every Sunday. Then I had a man say to me one day, he was middle-aged, and he said, Brother Colby, I've been watching you for about 4 years, and I want to be baptized and join the church because I like what I see. And I've often thought, when I was a bishop, I always thought about the children. What if I did something or said something that caused some child not to get baptized, and the same goes for older people. So I think it's very important the kind of example we set. People are watching us all the time. I visited my daughter when she was going to NAU up at Flagstaff. And I asked her, are you taking your roommate with you to Relief Society? Well, she wasn't going herself, so she decided she'd start going and take this girl with her. And in about 3 months, the girl called and wanted to know if I'd come to Flagstaff and baptize her, which I did. I've been able to go to Montana, Billings, Montana, and baptize my son-in-law. And so I just think it's really important. We never know who's watching us. When we might do something that would turn a person away from the church. I've always tried to be a good example and do the things that I teach. I am grateful for my membership in the church. I love our Father in heaven. I'm grateful for the Savior and his sacrifice and love for me. And I have a testimony of the gospel. I know it's true. I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you very much for sharing these stories with us. And thank you for giving so much of your life to the church and in the Kearny area. I think you've made an incredible difference. So thank you very much for visiting with us today.